Welcome. We'll get our meeting started. We'll begin with roll call. Madam Secretary.
All board members accounted for.
Thank you. And today we have Dr. Harmis with us, and he's going to be presenting and starting and leading us into pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Dr. Harmis is with us today, and he's going to be presenting our National Merit Semifinalists. Mr. Harmis, Dr. Harmis, please forgive me.
Thank you very much, and members of the board and Dr. Beresford. It is a great pleasure that I am here tonight in pride in Carmel High School as we present the class of 2022 National Merit Semifinalists to you tonight. Each year, over 1.5 million juniors take the PSAT, which qualifies them for consideration for the National Merit Scholarship Program. Of the 1.5 million students, less than 1% are recognized as National Merit Semifinalists as a result of their exemplary score on the PSAT. Once named a semifinalist, the students are invited to apply for the finalist status and compete for various scholarships. Semifinalists who earn finalist status are also considered for corporate scholarships and merit scholarships at their chosen colleges and universities. Carmel High School is excited to share that 56 current seniors have been named National Merit Semifinalists. During the month of September, these 56 seniors, along with their counselors, worked to complete the application process for finalist consideration. This extensive application provided more in-depth information about the very talented and multifaceted students, including academic and extracurricular accomplishments, a student essay, and a counselor letter. These seniors will learn their status in mid-January and whether they have been awarded scholarships throughout this spring semester. While we would all prefer that they be recognized in person, we do appreciate the opportunity to recognize each student through this video presentation. The following Carmel High School seniors are the class of 2022 National Merit Semifinalists.
My name is Claire. I've been within the Carmel Clay Schools District ever since I was in kindergarten, and I think that my Carmel education has given me so many opportunities and has prepared me really well for the PSAT, so I'm really honored and grateful to be a National Merit Semifinalist.
It's a huge honor to be a National Merit Semifinalist, and I'm excited to see if I can get any scholarships at the national level.
Hi, this is Denon McEwen. I recently received the National Merit Scholar Award or recognition, and honestly, it's pretty cool to have received it because it's nice to have received official recognition for something you've done, which sometimes doesn't always happen.
have that, Colleen? Okay, thank you. I wanted to take a moment and give some perspective about these Carmel High School seniors. And as I said, 56 semifinalists. The rest of Hamilton County high schools, all of them combined, have a total of 28. I really think that this speaks to our continued emphasis on our high academic standards and our academic excellence at Carmel High School. I also think it speaks to how our students take their studies so seriously, and they want to be challenged. And we do that each and every day, and we're happy to do it, and we're fortunate to do it at Carmel High School. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Dr. Harmis, and congratulations to all of our scholars. We are very excited for you and wish you the very best on the next steps, and certainly do hope that you are finalists. And I'm assuming, Dr. Harmis, you will share with us the final list of the finalists? Yes, I will. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, we have consent. In consent, there are several items. We've got our personnel report, claims, payroll. We have some gifts that I would like to mention. The patrons of Creekside Middle School donated over $1,100 to the Performing Arts Department. Carmel High School received several gifts. First, the Blackbaud Giving Fund awarded an $80 grant in the is a matching grant initiated with Duke Realty, and that went to the orchestra. Mr. John Painter donated a Shimadzu spectrometer and test tubes to the Carmel High School Science Department, and the Lacey Family Charitable Lead or Annuity Trust donated $5,000 to WHJE for CHS to use at their discretion. And last but not least, Carmel Clay School System received $10,000 donated through the Carmel Education Foundation from the City of Carmel, the Carmel City Council, for the project Lead the Way materials and programming. In addition to that, on our consent agenda, we have 5 different minutes to be approved. We have September 13th, September 15th, September 20th, the 21st, and September 27th. May I get a motion on the table to approve consent?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Louise. Discussion. All those in favor of supporting consent signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have action, and the first action item is the adoption of the 2022 budgets, the capital projects plan, and the bus replacement plan. And to that, we turn to Mr. McMichael.
Thank you. These budgets and plans were first presented to the school board in August, and then at our last meeting on September the 27th, there was an advertised public hearing, which gave opportunity for public comment. And now we're recommending that the board adopt the budget, and if the board does so, we will then submit it to the state, to the Department of Local Government Finance, and they will review and ultimately approve the budgets, which they have to do in order for it to actually become our budget, in which case they will do that during the, late November and December, and then these budgets will become current January 1st.
Thank you, Mr. McMichael. May I get a motion on the table to approve the budget, the capital projects plan, and the bus replacement plan? Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion. Mike.
Roger, I know that the bus replacement plan is a cycle. And how frequently do we replace our buses?
We replace them typically every 12 years, and the plan is a 5-year plan, but they're on a 12-year cycle. We're actually reviewing our fleet in light of the fact that we are so short on bus drivers. We have more buses actually now than we need, given our current state of affairs. So we will be considering that, and we'll likely adjust our replacement plan accordingly. So we don't want to do that all in one year and then find that we're able to hire, a number of bus drivers and then be needing buses. But as we'll include that in our cycle of replacement of buses, because then we trade in the older buses, typically, for the newer ones.
Katie?
Just a follow-up to that, but aren't the current buses being used, like doing a lot more, like, because they're doing like multiple routes and everything?
They are. There is some offset certainly in terms of miles because we're running additional routes with the same buses, and so they're not just literally sitting on the lot because we also rotate them from time to time.
Okay, thank you.
Oops. And we also are looking at replacing with some of the more environmentally friendly buses. I know we have one fully electric and some.
Yeah, we
natural
have several. I forget the exact number now, but propane buses, and they're available. They're not available in the large 84 passenger buses at this point in time, but we have several of the smaller buses that are propane, and we continue to do what we can to be sensitive to the environment and energy efficiency.
Any other questions? Yes, Louise?
Yes, I know that some school districts have buses that actually have Wi-Fi on them. Do our buses, or do we plan to have buses that have Wi-Fi?
They don't, but we are looking at that, and I think it's likely that we'll move in that direction. I'm sorry, you said Wi-Fi, but I'm thinking GPS, but.
Yeah, I was asking about Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no, we've not, we don't have that on our buses at this time.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board before we take a vote? Seeing no questions, we'll move ahead with a vote. All those in favor of supporting the adoption of the 2022 budget, the capital projects plan, and the bus replacement plan, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda, we have Roger for the transfer to the rainy day fund.
Thank you. So we're recommending a transfer of $1.5 million from our operations fund to the rainy day fund for two reasons. First, we have used the rainy day fund to pay COVID stipends to employees, and that was at a cost of about $2.2 million. And then secondly, we're recommending and maintaining a cash balance in the rainy day fund, which would supplement the cash balance in the education fund and the local referendum fund. We'd like to get the combined balance of all three funds to about 12%. For years, the board's had a goal of maintaining 8% in the education fund and the referendum fund, but we'd like to get that a little higher. For two reasons, really. One is when we went, the experience of the pandemic, we had a need for, it was a rainy day, and we definitely had a need for some additional cash. And then secondly, Standard & Poor's is the rating agency that rates our bonds. They would prefer to see a little higher cash balance, and so we think that would also be a good idea, because if that has any impact on our bond rating, that could mean lots of money to taxpayers in the forms of lower interest on those bonds. And so we have sufficient funds in the operation fund to make that transfer.
Thank you, Roger. May I get a motion on the table to approve the transfer of $1.5 million for the rainy day fund?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Katie. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, we'll go ahead and take a vote. I'm sorry, I missed. Go ahead, Mike.
So, Roger, I just want to appreciate the fact that we look for our credit rating and able to see how much money we can save on our capital projects and how quickly we can pay off our debt because of the stewardship that we have for those funds. We also there is a limit Is there a statutory limit on the amount that we're allowed to put in that fund, in the rainy day fund?
No, there's not a statutory limit in the amount that can go in. There is a statutory limit as to, which is 10%, up to 10% of all of your other funds. That, and the first requirement is you can transfer money that is, as the statute says, is unencumbered funds, which means it's not committed for something else. And such would be the case of monies that we have available in the operations fund.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of supporting the transfer to the rainy day fund, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the Program of Studies course changes for 2022-2023, and to that we look to Dr. Dudley.
Thank you. So on Friday, September 17th, 2021, the Curriculum Advisory Team met to review proposed changes for the 2022-23 Carmel High School Program of Studies. In each year, this advisory team meets to look at proposed new courses or modifications for courses or possibly deletions in courses. And they have the opportunity to listen to the proposed new courses, to ask any questions that they might have of these courses, and then they determine and make advisory notes to Dr. Harmis, to Mrs. Peel, the assistant principal over curriculum, and to myself as far as what courses might be recommended to the board for the program of studies for 2022-23. So there are several changes in courses, several new courses, and some deletions in courses that the curriculum advisory is advising that we would add to the program of studies. And we always want to make sure that that program of studies is a very rigorous program of studies, that we're continuously looking at the courses, looking at the courses students need as far as for their graduation pathways, as well as students' interest, to make sure that we're adding not only rigorous courses, but courses that students really are enjoying and also are of a very high level. So the business, family consumer science, and engineering and technology departments are proposing several new courses and several course name changes that will align to the next level program of study. And the next level program of study includes a series of career pathways that were developed by the governor's workforce, Cabinet's Career and Technical Ed Office, and that's often referred to as CTE, Career and Technical Ed. And we have several different pathways that we offer currently at Carmel High School, and each of these career pathways includes a series of 3 or 4 courses that students would complete. If they complete the first 3 courses, then they would meet the post-secondary ready competency for those graduation pathways requirements. And if they complete the capstone course, which is a course that would be in their senior year that they would work with to take those skills and those concepts that they learned and apply it to the real world. So this might be including job shadowing, internships, where they're going out and really applying what they've learned. That's that capstone course. If they complete a capstone course, then that also meets the requirement of demonstrating employability skills, another requirement for graduation. So as I said, we have several different pathways. 7 of those pathways have some changes to them. For example, in the accounting pathways, there's some changes that are required for the next level program of studies. So the first one is the Principles of Management, of Business Management. That is a new course that we are recommending to be adopted and included. And then to complete that pathway, students would take that first, then they would take Accounting Fundamentals, which is a current course, but there is a name change to align with the Pathways course, Advanced Accounting, and then the Accounting Capstone would be a new course. The next pathway that they're recommending changes for is in the Marketing pathway. So the first one would be the Principles of Business Management, and that is the same course that students would take if they were going through the accounting pathway. And then the Marketing Fundamentals, which is a current course. Digital Marketing is a 3rd-year level course that it would be a new course, and then Business Management Capstone would be also a new course. The next pathway would be in Principles of Teaching. That is a new course that we are proposing. Then the Education Professionals, and this pathway is where our students, where we have cadet teachers in the classroom. So students that are working in this pathway, you may see them in our elementary schools and our middle schools, that they get that real hands-on learning right in our own classrooms. So the Education and Professions is a current course, but there's a title change. The Education and Professions B is also a current course, which is a title change. And then the Education Professions Capstone, that is a new course that we are proposing that would offer even more hands-on learning in our classrooms. The next pathway is a pathway where we have early childhood education. The first course is Principles of Early Childhood. That is a current course, but with a title change to align with the next level pathways. The Early Childhood Education A over curriculum, that is a course title change as well. And then the Early Childhood Education B is over guidance, is a course title change. And the Early Childhood Education Capstone would be a new course. The Culinary Department has a pathway where they're proposing 4 new courses, and I'm proposing that we delete the courses we currently offer. These would replace those courses. So Principles of Culinary and Hospitality would be the first course, Culinary Arts A, Nutrition, Culinary Arts B, and then Culinary Arts Capstone. Those would all be new courses, and then they are proposing that we would delete the other ones. And then in Principles of Human Services, in this pathway, this is a new course. The Human Services A is a course title change, and then Human Services B is also a course title change. Those are 2 current courses we have. And then the Human Services Capstone would be a new course. And our last pathway does not have a capstone course, but it has the Principles of Automotive Services, which is our current course that we offer. Then the Automotive Services A, Brake Systems, which would be a course title change. And they do more than just brake systems in that part, but that's the main gist of that course, as the department chair explained that. And then the Automotive Services B, Steering and Suspension, that is a current course we offer, but a course change as well. So those courses all go with our next level of learning with our CTE pathways, or our career and technical education pathways. And the students that complete these pathways, in addition to not only the changes in these, but also pathways that we offer, leave with a variety of different career and technical licenses. Like, for example, the Culinary Arts, they leave with a Safe Server license, and there's several different other licenses that our students can take and leave as they prepare for career and or their next steps in colleges. So in addition to the changes of the next level program of study, we also are recommending changes in a variety of other courses, and there's several that I included on the list. A couple that I'd like to call your attention to is our CNA courses, or our health science education course, as well as our EMT courses. These are 2 courses that we adopted a couple of years ago, where our students can take a series of courses where they could leave Carmel High School either with their CNA or their Certified Nursing Assistance license, or they can leave with their EMT or their Emergency Medical Technician license, where they could work with a fire department or what have you. There are some changes in the next level that would require the students would take a series of 3 courses. That for the CNA, it would be Principles of Healthcare, Medical Terminology, and then the CNA course. For the EMT one, it would be the same Principles of Healthcare, Medical Technology, and then the Emergency Medical Technician course. The proposed change they're required to take this over a year, but they're proposing that we block this into 2 blocks each semester, and they would receive 3 credits each semester for these courses. And that's the change that would allow us to get the CTE funding, as well as allow the students to get their certification that is needed for those courses. There are several other changes and name changes and modifications for courses. Another one that I would like to call your attention to is the Chemistry 2 course. This is a proposed new course through our science department that is looking at giving students another option that really enjoy chemistry but don't necessarily want to take an AP chemistry class, but they want another level of chemistry. So this is a course that they're looking at that might interest some students that want to take that next level but not go all the way to an AP level of chemistry. And then in our English department, they are proposing a new course that I think will interest many, many of our students. And this is an IB literature and performance. So they're looking at literature and then also where they look at that performing arts side of it. Many times we have literature and then writing, and this one would really, I think, will interest many of our students. And students can take IB classes even if they're not looking at their IB diploma. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in my report. And then another piece that we are looking at, there's two courses that the Social Studies Department is recommending. And one is Introduction to Microeconomics, and the other one is Introduction to Macroeconomics. Both of these courses would be ACP courses in the Advanced College Project, which are dual credit through IU, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit later in my report as well. So these are two new courses that they are recommending. So with that, with those recommendations, as well as several other on the list, Carmel High School, Dr. Harmis, I myself are recommending that you approve those for adoption to be included in our program of studies.
Thank you, Dr. Dudley. So may I get a motion on the table to approve the 2022-2023 Program of Studies course changes?
So moved.
Thank you, Katie. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Louise. Discussion. Katie?
Mine's more of a comment, but this just amazes me. It is so amazing to me that you can have students, I mean, this is just like a small snippet of the options that we offer at Carmel High School. I mean, and we just heard about our National Merit Scholars, and then you also have, our automotive technicians and our nurses and our CMTs and, I mean, microeconomics and carpentry with framing and finishing. I mean, all these different things, so that we do have, like, to use a term that we use, pathway, that we do have a pathway depending on what your interests are and your skill sets. I just think that's amazing that you can leave high school with so many options in order for those next steps. So it's mainly just something that, and continues to impress me that we have so many amazing things for our students.
Right, and I would say our students really have so many different opportunities, and high school is really about not only finding your pathways and your passions, but also sometimes figuring out what you might not want to do. And so, I've talked to a student, he was actually in a pathway, an engineering pathway, and he decided, you know what, this isn't what I want, this isn't my passion. So it was great that he figured that out before he went to Purdue or Rose-Hulman, 3 years down the line to figure it out. So it's about finding out what you want to do, but then also sometimes finding out what you don't want to do.
I've got a question about the macroeconomics course. How does the macroeconomics course, that ACP course, compare to the AP macro?
So the ACP course is direct IU credit. So the students, when they take an AP course, a student, the macro AP course, they take that course and then they have to take the AP exam and they have to score a qualifying exam, and then a university will look at that to determine how many credits you might get for that course. For the ACP macro course, this is an IU class, it's what you would take if you were down in Bloomington taking the macro course, and you get direct credit to IU. So if you go to Purdue or you go to any other university, they're looking at that IU credit. With the AP, it's really up to the university as far as what it might look like, as far as the number of credits you get, also based on your AP score.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. Other questions? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote on that. All those in favor of supporting the 2022-23 Program of Studies course changes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And next on the agenda is, our school board meeting dates. And can we show that on our screen, or do I need to show my screen? Okay, please do. Okay, no rush. So this is our first discussion item, and Mrs. Nobis went through, looked at various holidays, and we looked at what the calendar looked like, and we are presenting, or I'm presenting to you, suggestions for our school board meetings. I'll point out a few changes. When we look at April, typically, we kind of struggle with April because we're out of school for spring break. And then oftentimes we have the National School Board Association meeting, and it makes it difficult to fit in both of those meetings and having an opportunity for the administration to prepare all the business that we need at our board meetings. So we're suggesting April, we just have the single meeting on April the 25th. And then because we have 5 Mondays in May, to shift to 2 meetings in May instead of just the 1 meeting. So that's something for us to consider and discuss. As typical, we have the 1 meeting in July, so that is the same. We have the 1 meeting in December. The slight change we have on dates, you'll notice with the double asterisks in September. The September 27th meeting is going to be on a Tuesday because there is a holiday on Monday. And I open it up for discussion or questions.
Yep, can you repeat the April-May piece again?
Yes, typically, when we have just 1 meeting a month, we typically have May, July, and December, just a single meeting. Because, well, and let me backtrack. Last year, we had a single meeting in April.
Mhm.
We're considering having just a single meeting in April again,
Mhm.
but because we have 5 Mondays in May,
Mhm.
having our 2 meetings in May.
Okay.
Typically, we have four Mondays a month,
Mhm.
but we have the extra Monday.
And it would be the 2 days that we have here proposed, or you, right?
This
You
is
have a
all
May
proposed.
9th and 23rd. Those are
Yes,
the 2
those
dates?
are the dates. These are the dates that are proposed, yes. These are Mondays. The only days that are not falling on a Monday, September 27th,
Mhm.
and actually, I think December 12th is a Monday. That just happens to be out of sync with our typical calendar, but I will check that real quick.
I'm not able to pull it up, but can you tell me what the first day of school is and the last day of school? My computer won't let me pull it up. Does anyone have that handy?
I do on my phone, which I don't have on me.
Well, I can look at
Yes.
it and get back to you.
I
but
can look at that.
I do know in the past, it's always, we try to avoid having it. Sometimes it falls like the day before school starts or the day after the last day of school, and we don't really, we try not to have our staff have to stay any more than they're already staying for those 2 things, so.
Yeah, that's what I was concerned about, May. And then graduation.
So we can look it up and get back to you on, but that, so just looking at the calendar first glance, and not my first glance, but again,
Right.
those would be my only things that I would just, and I believe I did check, I just thought I would bring it up again.
Yeah, okay, we're good. We're good with graduation. It's the 26th, but the last day of school.
Wednesday, August 10th. I'm looking at the calendar now.
Okay.
What's the last day?
Yep, the 25th. Mm-hmm. Wednesday, the 25th.
Okay, so we should be good. It's that week, but not that day.
Yes. Although the day I'm looking at is 4/23. Okay. Okay. So food for thought. If you have questions, concerns, if there's a big red flag, email that to us. I'll circulate new dates. Otherwise, we'll plan to bring this to the board at our next, let's see, November, at the November board meeting. Sounds good. For a vote. Next on the agenda, we turn to Dr. Dudley for a series of policies and bylaws. First is 5240.
Yes, thank you. So this first policy, 5240, is controversial issues. This is a policy that we've had in our policies for several years. And the purpose of this policy is really to look at, there are controversial issues that come up in classrooms, and it really helps with that critical thinking. It helps with students weighing all sides of the issues, looking at, exploring those issues favorably, looking at all the factors involved, and to develop techniques for formulating and evaluating positions. This is such an important skill that our students do need to learn. And so the policy committee looked at this policy, and we're suggesting some recommendations for some wording changes, but it's not necessarily changing the meaning of the policy. It's just updating some wording and really looking at, how are those controversial issues related to the instructional goals, making sure that the controversial issues are not indoctrinating or persuading students to a particular point of view, but it's really to help the students to formulate their own points of view. And then also to encouraging that open-mindedness and seeing other points of view and that's the purpose of this policy. And there is a place for those issues in our classroom. And our policy committee looked at that, and we're recommending some changes just to the wording, but not necessarily to the overall meaning of the policy.
Discussion, questions? Okay, let's move along to the second. We've got first reading of 5220 or 5521.
Yes, so this policy is our policy that looks at the selection of instructional materials. We have another policy that we're recommending changes to in a few minutes on the board agenda, which is policy 9130, public complaints and concerns. This policy, the policy 9130, talks about public complaints and concerns, and it talks about if you have a complaint about a certain staff member, what do you do? What's the process there? Then the policy goes in and talks about if you have concerns about materials. We looked at these policies and we determined that that was really seemed to be out of place in policy 9130. So we took the information that is in 9130 and determined that it would be better placed in the instructional materials if we're talking about the adoption, the review of those instructional materials, and then if you have concerns about those instructional materials, what is the process? So it talks about instructional materials that you might have in the classroom, or it also talks about materials that you might find in our media center as well. And what's the process? So the policy did not change. It's just we're moving that information from 9130 to 5521. And there's a few pieces that we would move into administrative guidelines because it was in policy, but it really needs to fall into administrative guidelines. For example, the makeup of if the superintendent chooses to have a committee, that makeup of the committee, that really needs to be more in administrative guidelines.
Questions? Katie?
I don't have a question. It's just a comment, just to reiterate. The policy itself isn't changing. It's just where it is. So under what number?
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, it would move from 9130, the part on the challenging the materials, to 5521, but the policy is not changing, correct?
I knew that. I just thought it bared another,
Yes.
a repeat.
So I would like to comment, I do like how it is so nicely outlined, and I like where the new location is going to be. Where I have a question, and it's not necessarily with this, it's if a parent is uncomfortable with a piece of literature that a student is reading in the classroom, what options do they have? I think, if I'm not mistaken, there can be a different selection for a particular student that would align with some of the learning objectives, but I would like you to touch on that
Yes.
if you could.
That is correct. So if a parent has a concern about a novel that is a core text in the classroom, that they just talk with their child's teacher, talk about their concerns, and then the teacher will have an alternative core novel that still aligns with the same standards that they would be teaching. It would be a similar theme to that novel, and they would have the opportunity to read an alternative text. And the reason I say core novel is we also have choice text, but then there's lots of choices that students can choose different ones from that. So if a parent does have a concern with that. And then with the high school, you'll recall that we adopted several new novels for our high school literacy program. And what the teachers have is before they start a novel, 2 to 3 weeks before that novel starts, on Canvas they have a synopsis of what the novel is about, and any information the parent might want to look at, any reviews that they might want to look at, they'll align them so the parent would have the opportunity to look at that before they start using that in the classroom. And that is on the Canvas page of each of the courses, the students' courses, and this is prior to when the instruction would start from that. So the parents, in case they haven't read all of those novels, will have the opportunity to look at it further.
Thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? Okay. Moving on to the next, we've got policy 7540, computer technology networks.
Yes, so this policy, the policy 7540, and also the policy following that, 7542, bringing these two together. So we requested for our attorneys, with the help of our Director of Information and Technology, Mrs. Christy Cloud, to review this policy because we wanted to make sure that it is up to date. As technology continues to change, we want to make sure that our policies are accurate and up to date based on how we're using technology. And what did not change about this policy is we have all of the information in policy now 7540. And so we're recommending that we actually delete policy 7542, which is the next policy, because it's all included in the updates to policy 7540, but the information is the same. The one thing that did change in this policy is we've always filtered corporation-owned devices off campus for students, but the new law came out last year that we also not only need to filter that for students, but we also have to filter corporation-owned devices for staff members. So if a teacher has a corporation-owned iPad or a corporation-owned Chromebook, currently when they come in to school, that is always being filtered. But when they leave, it is not. The law does require us to do that for both students, which we've always done off of campus, but then also for staff members. And so that is a change here in the policy where it says both students and staff to filter internet access as they're off campus as well. So that is the one change here. And then this policy, the changes in this policy incorporate the information that was in policy 7542. So the recommendation would be to adopt the changes for 7540 and then delete 7542, policy 7542.
Thank you, Dr. Dudley. Any questions? Mike?
And obviously, if we pass this, we will be sharing the information with staff that their devices are now being filtered, not just on school property, but also off.
Yes, any corporation-owned devices. So anything that's owned personally by the staff members, that's not being filtered off campus, but any corporation-owned devices, yes. And currently, many of our corporation-owned devices are being filtered off campus already, only because like Roger and I and Tom, we all have a VPN. So when we go into the internet, we're hooking up to a VPN, and that's already being filtered wherever we are. It's the ones that, like a Chromebook, is not hooking into a VPN when they're off campus. They're not hooking into a VPN ever. So they're not being filtered right now off campus, but they will be.
And then, so on-campus, non-corporation-owned devices, if they're logging onto our Wi-Fi, then they're filtered.
Correct.
If they're using cellular data,
Yes,
they're not.
that is correct.
So that's both for students and staff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then we will skim past 5.5, which is the first reading of policy 7542, since you've already discussed that is planned to be deleted, since the information is included in 7540. So let's jump to policy 9130, public complaints and concerns.
Yes, and so this policy goes with our policy 5521. So the changes in this policy is just moving the challenges to materials into policy 5521. So there's no changes in this policy other than taking out the lined out information that's halfway down the policy matters regarding challenged educational materials. And all of that information goes to 5521.
Thank you. Any questions? And last but not least, we've got the first reading of bylaw 0167.1, voting.
Yes, and so this was, this bylaw we looked at because we had new legislation that allows individual board members to participate in meetings and also through electronic means. And also there are conditions that when they're doing that, they can also vote. For example, right now we've had times where somebody couldn't be at a meeting and they might call in. But when they're doing that, they're listening into the meeting, but they didn't have the opportunity to vote as a board member. But the law did change that allows board members to participate if they're not physically present. However, they do need to be, people need to be able to see them and hear them in order to be able to vote on that. But there are certain restrictions that you cannot do that through electronic communications. Like, for example, if you are adopting a budget, like this evening, you wouldn't be able to participate electronically and have your vote counted on that area. And then you can only participate electronically so many times, and then you can do 2 consecutive, but then you'd have to have a break before participating again. So these are all restrictions that are lined out in the Indiana code that went into effect. And so looking at that voting part for our bylaws, these are the changes that our attorneys recommended that we make.
Thank you, Dr. Dudley. Are there questions or comments? Katie?
Dr. Dudley, I know you were going to look into it, the .5 on the last paragraph. Did you find out what that meant?
Yes, so the establish or increase a penalty. So all of those requirements under this last sentence come straight from the statute. And so I did talk with our attorneys, and we had questions about the establish or increase a penalty, and then also establish, raise, or renew a tax. Establish, raise, or renew a tax, they suggest that we keep it in, even though it talks about referendum earlier in the line. They say, go ahead and keep that one in, but if you want to take out the establish or increase a penalty, that is not something a school board typically does. And they said if that's something you'd want to remove, it is in the Indiana code, but this is an Indiana code for all boards, public boards.
Okay,
So they
that
said
makes sense.
we could certainly take that out if we would like. And that's highlighted in your copy that you see.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question about the codes. Were there amendments to these codes, or was there a new code that references the electronic meeting?
There was a new code, or I think it was amendments.
Amendments,
But
okay, so we don't need to.
We'll double check
update.
that
Okay,
to make sure, but
Okay.
I believe it was amendments to this code.
are there any other questions? I just want to say a huge thank you. Having served on the policy committee before, I know how challenging it can be to align everybody's schedules and get all the information from our attorneys to be sure that we can bring something to the board. So thank you, Katie, Mike, Dr. Dudley. I appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have our monthly finance report. To that, we turn to Mr. McMichael.
Thank you. We'll start with as you know, we combined for purposes of this presentation, combined the education fund, the operating referendum, and the rainy day fund. And so we're right on track where we would have projected, or have projected. You'll see it near the bottom, our ending cash balance for September is almost $3.8 million, and you can see that, as always, declines because this revenue is primarily coming from property tax. And since we spend it very regularly, but not all of it, but part of it comes from property tax, and so, which is the referendum, and so we receive that money just twice a year, and so every year the balance will go down, and then as we collect taxes in May and November, you'll see it come back up again. If you compare that to last year did not include the rainy day fund. That's a newer concept that I spoke to earlier. However, there's virtually no balance in the rainy day fund at this time, so it's a pretty pretty close comparison between one year to the next. And we're showing more money this year than last year, but you'll recall that this year we just settled the contract with our teachers. And so you'll see that come down next month, partially because of what I just said, but also we've now caught the teachers up with retro pay and their raise. And so both of those will be reflected in next month's statement. And then it'll tend to be more comparable to the previous year. With our operating fund, as I've noted before, this is can be misleading as you compare from one year to the next, because unlike our education fund, this fund has a lot of things in it besides salary. And so salaries, of course, are paid every 2 weeks. But in the operations fund, it has such things as maintenance or construction projects, technology purchases, and so forth. And so it doesn't track as evenly as the other fund. But it does have the same factor in terms of the balance going down over time until we receive the property tax draw, because this fund is, as you can see from the top, primarily supported by property tax and other taxes that are local taxes received primarily twice a year. And then this is the 2020 comparison, which there's not very much difference at all in this particular year. And then the rainy day fund that we took action on recently, earlier in the meeting. And you'll note here that I'm trying to find it now. This is reflecting the payout of the COVID stipend that we gave all employees. And so and you'll see this balance now will go up as we make that transfer from the operations fund. And so that completes my report. I'd respond to any questions that you might have.
Well, I not necessarily have a question, but a statement, and I would love for you to just touch on this. I think it's worth noting that at the ribbon cutting ceremony for both Clay Center and Carmel Elementary, you had mentioned that we were able to build both of those schools without raising taxes, and they will be paid off in 14 years. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we're very pleased about that, of course, on both counts. One is to be able to have projects of that size and not have any impact to the tax rate. And then on top of that, to be able to pay them off really very quickly as compared to most government bonds. You know, it's a very enviable position to be in, and certainly very beneficial to our community.
And we just approved the transfer of funds to the rainy day fund. That is not reflective in this, correct?
No, it's not.
Okay. So when looking at this, then for September, so next month when we look at it, I guess it'll be for October, it'll have a jump of 1.5 million?
Yes.
About, okay.
I'm hesitating a little bit as to the timing of when we
timing.
do that transfer, because what I said in terms of the cash, the receipts coming in, one of those two funds is going to have a negative balance because until we receive the property taxes
Gotcha.
in November and December.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Mr. McMichael.
Thank you.
Next, we have our student data report, and to that we turn to Dr. Dudley.
Can you pull Rogers across?
Thanks. All right. So this evening, as I did a little foreshadowing in our new courses, I said we're going to talk about a few of these things, and this is a very short report, but really talking about some accelerated learning opportunities that our students have that really support that strong academic excellence at Carmel High School. And so our students do have several different ways to earn some dual credit opportunities. And let me just share with you, you'll see some pictures in here of our Carmel High School students that Emily was so kind to share with me. Some of these pictures are taken prior to the mask mandate. I just want to make that very clear that some of these pictures are a couple of years old. These students, you'll see some pictures with masks, but some without, but it's prior to the mask mandate. So I don't want anyone to think we're not using the masks at the high school. But as I said, there are several opportunities or pathways for our students to earn college credit while they are still attending Carmel High School. And basically, the college credit, what that happens is our students are dually enrolled. So they may be enrolled at Carmel High School, and then they'll be enrolled in a college or a university. And we have several different universities that I'll talk about that we partner with. And this is a really great way for our students to have access to very rigorous college-level courses. And then also, it's really very helpful for our families to be able for our students to graduate with those college credits as they move on to that secondary education. And even if they move right into career, it also can be very helpful for them to get a boost up in those career earnings as well, because they could have the possibility of many college credits. They could have, some students might graduate with the possibility of 60 college credits based on, many of our national merit semifinalists, they probably will graduate with that. Like, for example, my daughter, who was, she was above average, but not to the level of national merit honors, she graduated with 31 college credits when she left Carmel High School. So they do have that opportunity, and she was just kind of your average student there. So all of our students have those opportunities. So as I said, there's 4 different programs I'm going to briefly talk about this evening. One is our dual credit courses. The other is the Advanced College Project, Advanced Placement Program, and then also our International Baccalaureate courses and diploma program. So the first is that dual credit courses. So this is, as I said, the students are enrolled at both Carmel High School as well as a university, and they have the opportunity to earn those credits directly with the university or the college. And so we have partnerships with Butler University, Indiana University, Ivy Tech Community College, University of Indianapolis, as well as Vincennes University. They're our students. Oh, it's not moving forward. Oh, it's, yeah. I have to do, there you go. Yeah, it's our solstice glitch. Okay, so anyway, our dual credit courses, as I said, we have several universities that we work with. And we have currently, this year, we have 1,503 students that are enrolled in 24 different dual credit courses at Carmel High School. Many of these students are, many of them are juniors and seniors, but there may be some sophomores in that, but typically they're at the junior or senior level when they're participating in the dual credit courses. So the next part that I want to talk about is that Advanced College Project. And this is, Mrs. Spannenberg asked the question about our new courses that you just approved, the micro and macro. And this is called ACP courses. And as I said, these are courses that are offered directly through Indiana University. The students get direct credit, and it is at a very large reduction in price. It's $25 per credit hour. So if our students are in finite math, which is IU's equivalent to Math 108, this parent would pay $75 directly to IU, and if we have students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, then they have a reduced rate or it's free. But that $75 for 3 college credits is a steep reduction in what you would pay if the student went to IU. And so it is really a great deal, and as I said, it's direct to IU. And I did not say, some of the college credits are actually, there's no fee to the students at all. The ones that we have the dual credit through Ivy Tech, there is no fee for our students that receive Ivy Tech credit for those, and those are on a transcript. The students have the opportunity to take that to wherever, if they go to Purdue or Ball State or any other university, they would have the credits on their Ivy Tech transcript, on their IU transcript as well as their Carmel High School transcript. But it is those direct. So the ACP project, we have several courses offered in English, calculus, finite math, education, our career and technical ed, and then also our new ones that we just approved with the economics. And currently we have 709 students that are enrolled in 9 different ACP courses. Next year we'll have the 11 different ACP courses when we add the 2 economics courses. Okay, it's still not wanting to go. Why it only works with mine. Oh, we did that one. Okay, so our AP program, our advanced placement program, this is one of our larger programs at the high school, and this provides the students to take college level courses at the high school. This is different than the dual enrollment. The students are taking, they are advanced courses. The AP, they follow the AP curriculum. They have to have training through AP. This is a program through College Board. However, they're not dual enrolled in both Carmel High School and a university. They are just enrolled in Carmel High School. However, with the qualifying exam score, the successful completion of the course and the qualifying exam, many students have the opportunity to earn college credit at different universities. For example, based on your score that you receive on your AP exam, you may score, for example, my daughter, when she went to Purdue, she took AP US History and she received 6 credits at Purdue for her humanities credit based on her score that she received on that AP exam. So it was direct college credit. However, this one is a little bit different than the ACP piece because there's the different universities take the credits differently. It just all is based on what the student is studying, what the university is looking at, and so it's not a direct college credit that the universities are looking at, but they're looking at the exam, and the students do need to have successful completion on the exam. Typically, that's a score of a 3, 4, or 5. There's 5 possible points you can get on an AP exam. But we offer quite a few courses. We have 32 different courses, AP courses currently, and we have 2,159 students enrolled in those AP courses. As I said, the dual enrollment, typically those are juniors and seniors enrolled in the dual enrollment. For AP, we do offer an AP course at 9th grade. We offer AP World History. And then at 10th grade, we have several students that participate in AP Human Geography or AP, it's another geography. I can't, Dr. B, can you think of it? It's another one that typically 10th grade students participate in. Euro, yes, thank you. That they might participate in. And then we also added the last several years our program called AP Capstone, where our students have the opportunity to participate in a research course. So in their junior year or possibly their sophomore year, they start with the AP seminar where they're really looking at learning how to do research. And then their next year is the AP research course, and then they actually complete a research project that as their capstone course. And our students, they actually have a board that looks at their research to make sure that they are using ethical practices for that board, just as if you would go to get your doctorate and you have to present your research project, the students have the opportunity to do that. And so that's a very real world opportunity to apply those skills for our advanced placement. And as I said, this is one of our largest programs where we have 2,159 students currently in the AP courses. And we have we have 53% of our seniors last year successful completed an AP course with an AP exam of a 3, 4, or 5. So in some time in their career at Carmel High School, 53% of last year's seniors completed that. And that has been consistent throughout the years as we've continued to add more AP courses, really encouraging our students to take those very high-level classes. And then the last program that I wanted to talk about tonight is our International Baccalaureate Program, or our IB program. And we offer several different courses for our IB program. IB is very rigorous. It's AP and IB are both very rigorous, but it comes from a different focus. When you're looking at the IB program, you're really looking how all of these pieces connect together. So you're looking at that transdisciplinary learning, so across different disciplines. And the 6 different disciplines is they look at language and literature, language acquisition, individuals and society, sciences, mathematics, and the arts. And the students have the opportunity, if they're looking to earn their IB diploma, they have the opportunity to take these different courses that are connected together through, and they have a theory of knowledge course that they take along with that diploma piece, and they have a writing completion project they need to work on to complete the IB diploma. Students can also take IB courses and not necessarily go for the IB diploma. And we offer 35 different IB courses, and we have 607 students enrolled in the IB courses. They really have that opportunity to, critically examine the content, reflect on their own learning, and develop that very strong sense of their own identity, and look at diverse perspectives. So where the IB would be more, you're connecting the different content areas together in your learning. The AP is you're really focusing in on that very specific subject level. They're both very rigorous, but they just come from 2 different points of view. And it really depends on the student and how the student really likes to learn. We have lots of students that take both AP classes as well as IB classes. Students do have the opportunity to earn college credit, but this is very similar to the AP program, where if they would like to be considered for college credit, they have to take the IB exam. The IB exam is out of a possible 7 points, and they have to score at least a 4, 5, 6, or 7 on that IB exam. And then it's very similar to when you go to the universities, they look at your transcripts, they determine how they'll take those credits and what credits they'll offer you. To earn the IB diploma, that does give students, especially students that might be going to private universities. Many private universities look at that IB diploma. All of the universities do, but many times students that might be looking at some Ivy League or what have you universities, they may be looking at that IB diploma. One of the downfalls, not downfalls, but why we don't have more students going after the IB diploma is you have to take a series of courses, and our students want to take, they're involved in so many, like they might be involved in the highlight, or they might be involved in advanced orchestra. And some of those singleton courses that only meet at certain times, they try to make the schedules work, but it's difficult when there's a singleton course and then you're competing. So as we continue to grow that program, that will be less of an issue for our students where they can look at. So these are just some, 4 different ways that our students can really make sure that they're taking those rigorous courses. And I think for our families that want to, create that path of learning and determine, what is the best path, because as Mrs. Browning said earlier, our students have so many different opportunities, and I think it's really making sure that our students are working very closely with their guidance counselors at the high school and the families, and creating that pathway and starting early, starting in 9th grade to determine where do they want to go, and so that they can take advantage of the different opportunities that we have at Carmel High School. But these are just some of the ways that we have that accelerated learning that really helps us support that rich academic excellence that we have in Carmel Clay Schools. So with that, any questions?
Yes,
Louise.
I've got a couple. Some of our students are recognized for the AP College Board program. How do we find that information?
So we're actually, I think at our next meeting, we'll be talking about the students that are recognized for that. We'll be highlighting the students there. And students are recognized for a variety of different reasons. We're looking at some of our students that might be recognized, and we'll talk about that at our next board meeting.
Okay. And second question is, if parents want to know more about how to get connected with school counselors in order to look at, the program their kid is involved in, what do you suggest for that?
To call the high school and ask their student, first of all, who is your counselor? The students should know who their counselor is. In case they don't, call the front office and say, hey, I want to connect with my student, call the counseling office, and they'll be able to figure out who the counselor is and connect the parents.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify, so when we say number of students and enrolled in number of classes, for example, 607 students in 35 IB classes, if a student's taking 4 IB classes or 4 AP classes, they're counted 4 times in these numbers.
We have 607 students correct.
So if there's, whatever, if there were 4 classes and 200 taking each, I mean, it's not 600
No.
distinct students, it's 600 kids enrolled in one of these classes.
No, excuse me, I'm sorry. No, it's 600 distinct students taking the IB classes. So these students could be, they're counted they're distinct students taking them. So there's more students in the IB classes, but these are distinct students taking them.
Yeah, Mr. Kirshner, you just can't add them all together. So, because some kids take some out of all the different programs. So we don't have like almost 5,000 kids doing all these programs. There's a lot of doubles where kids will take an AP class, an IB class, and maybe in an ACP course too.
Correct. Yes.
Right, I understand that, but so we got 2,159 students enrolled in 32 AP classes. So for example, if my son took 3 classes, he would have been counted only 1 time or 3 times?
He's kind of one time, in the 32 different AP classes, he's kind of one time, but he might be taking AP, ACP, and IB, and he's counted once in IB, once in AP, once in ACP. So you can't, like as Dr. B said, you can't take the 607 and add it to 2,139 and add it to the number we had for ACP and the dual credit.
Okay.
Because we have students that many students take
One of each or multiples?
multiples.
But so then I guess that begs the question. So if there's 5,000 kids at Carmel High School, 2,159 of them are at least in an AP class.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to comment. This is amazing. Couple of reasons. First of all, I have an 8th grader, so this is like, whoa, so I'm very excited about all the different options he has, because as a high schooler, I went to a little high school in Missouri, and we didn't even have any of this. We have advanced college classes, which meant they were harder, but you didn't get anything out of them. So I love the fact that these students have the opportunity, if they are able to and they want to, apply more and do more, that they kind of get that, that benefit also besides just passing that high school class. So I think that this is an amazing option, and kind of back to my original statement, what Carmel High School offers. So I think that's really cool.
And I would like to add too, this is not just for our high ability students or our advanced students. Carmel High School has done an excellent job the last several years of making, helping students to take those rigorous classes where their interests lie, and really encouraging all students to take rigorous classes. So don't think, if your student is not in high ability in elementary school, that doesn't mean anything when they get to high school. It's open enrollment. Students can take any classes that they have interest in, and we encourage that. We want students to take those rigorous classes while they're still in high school.
And that's amazing.
Is that for the IB program as well? Do you have to be vetted for the IB diploma program?
Well, the IB diploma program, you do have to take a series of classes, both standard level and higher level courses in your junior and senior year. But it's to receive the diploma. But you can take IB classes that are full weighted classes in a variety of different areas. They have them in the arts, they have them in the world language, all of those different areas, and you don't have to be in the diploma program to take those courses. You don't need to be recommended, but you do need to complete the series of courses, yes.
I'm assuming that we think that senior schedule is one way that we encourage students to enroll in these type of classes, and we use it obviously as a transition to being able to manage your time and recognizing that next year, if you go to college, you're going to have time to manage, and so when you're not in class, we don't make you come to school.
Yes, so what Mr. Kirshner is talking about is we have a senior transition to college. So it's a senior year that students, and it's really to encourage students. Sometimes in the past, you have students that they've completed all their requirements. Many times they complete all of their requirements they need by their 7th semester. So the first semester of their senior year, they have all of the courses they need to graduate with Core 40 or Core 40 with honors. We wanted to make sure that our senior students are still taking very rigorous courses. So one thing that the high school looked at several years ago is their senior transition program, where students are required, if they would like to do the senior transition program, they have to take a minimum of 4 rigorous courses that could be AP courses, IB courses, any of the dual credit courses, ACP courses. They have to be fully weighted courses that the students have to take a minimum of. And then, as Mr. Kirshner said, there's pieces there where we're really helping them to manage their time. Because one of the things we found is when our students go off to college, they're so used to being structured in high school. They go to class all day, then they have their practices, then they go home and they do their homework, and their day is very structured, and they have their parents or guardians at home saying, okay, and this is what you need to make sure you get done. This is what you need to make sure you get done. Then they go off to college, and they might have class Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. What do they do on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Or what they might have class, in the mornings only. And how do they manage their time? How do they learn how to take that time and study? Because when they're at the college level, they're expected, it's not just the time you spend in class, but you're also expected to spend at least that much time, if not more, outside of class studying and helping those students to gain those studying skills. So it's a minimum of 4. Students can take up to 7, which would be each semester, which would be a full caseload. And what we find, we have many of our students are overachievers. They're in the senior transition program, and they're taking 5 or 6 courses because they want to continue in highlight, or they want to continue in their advanced orchestra classes. So they're taking those classes plus the other 4 required classes. We have many students that are not taking full advantage of it, but that's okay too, because we want them to get the most of everything when they go to Carmel High School. But that's an opportunity. The minimum is those 4 classes, and then when they're not in class, it follows the same schedule. But if they go in and they have block 1 blue day, and then block 2 on blue day, they have no course, then they can leave campus, or they can go to the media center and study. They can work with a study group or what have you. But it's really to help them manage that time.
Might add, there's also some really cool internships going on out there with kids using that schedule to really take advantage of some of the opportunities around Central Indiana.
Are there other questions at this time? Well, Dr. Dudley, thank you very much for bringing all of these options, or sharing all of these options that we have with us. Next on the agenda, we have our board members' report. And the first is our legislative update. And I'm actually presenting that. And there it is. So, as many of us know, well, we'll start with, it's our legislative update for October of 2021 and moving forward until the end of the next legislative session. At each one of our regular meetings, I will have an update to share. And what we're going to share today and discuss, how do I, is it all on there? Sort of. Sorry. Our legislators had their special session this summer. So after they temporarily adjourned to resume a special session, and it was for the purpose of redistricting. And they did that. So This example here, this just shows us the congressional district maps, and on the right are the new 2021 congressional district maps. And looking more closely, here we see we are District 5, our congressional district, and so our representative is Victoria Spartz. And there has been some change to the congressional district. Our District 5, instead of having part of 8 different counties, we are 5 counties. So what we have for our 5, we've got Howard, Tipton, Hamilton, Grant, Madison, oh, actually it's 6, in Delaware. So we went from 8 down to 6. So we have 6 full counties that are in, and we are still considered 5, and so Victoria Spartz is still our representative for the U.S. House. Our state level, we've had significant changes. So our district maps, which I'm going to focus in because these are far too busy and too small. So as we look at what we had before, for our House of Representatives, you'll see 24 and 39 going right across that center. We've got Clay Township. And so for Clay Township, we had Donna Shively in 24 and Jerry Torr as our representative for District 39. The House has changed what our district looks like, and Hamilton County has quite a few changes. More specifically, Clay Township, we now have 3 individuals, 3 representatives, 24, 39, and 32. And so what I'd like to point out, our switch, we're adding 32. That's Representative Tony Cook. It's worth noting that Tony Cook did announce in September, this past September, that he will be retiring from his position next November of 22 when his position comes up for re-election. So that is something we'll be watching. So with the new redistricting, we continue to have Donna Shively, and we have Jerry Torr, and then we added District 32, which is Representative Cook. Moving to our Senate district maps, we've had some changes here as well. And I'm focusing in, prior to this, for Clay Township, we had 3. We had 20, 29, and 30. This has changed and changed significantly. We have shifted to only having 2 representatives for Clay Township. Right there in the center, we've got the lightest yellow, District 29, which is J.D. Ford, and then District 20 had a significant change. That is Scott Baldwin. So we've kept Scott Baldwin, but we have lost a position. We had 3 prior to. We had Senator Cadora. We no longer have Senator Cadora. We have switched from 3 representatives for senators for Clay Township down to 2. And we did keep Scott Baldwin and J.D. Ford. So just a summary of what we have our congressional leaders, our House District 5, Victoria Spartz. There have been no changes. We still have our 2 senators. We have U.S. Senator Todd Young, Carmel graduate, and Senator Mike Braun. And when we get to our state House leaders, we have 3 House of Representatives this time, District 24, District 32, and District 39, Donna Shively, Tony Cook, and Jerry Torr. And then our senators, we've continued to have Scott Baldwin and J.D. Ford. What I wanted to be sure we touched on are the Carmel Clay Schools' next steps. And Dr. Beresford and I have already met with some of our legislators. We've met with Jerry Torr and Donna Shively. Dr. Beresford has continued to have conversations with his superintendent's group, the Hamilton County Superintendent's team, and they have met with some of our state legislators as well. And we will continue to meet and share our story. Some of the 3 key points that I wanted to bring up is that we want to be sure that we continue to be a credible resource in the field of the matters that relate to lifelong learning. There are several areas that we believe Carmel Clay Schools aligns very well with what our legislators would like to do and see the direction of public education go. And we want to be sure that they rely on us to be that sound resource so they understand the implications of even the best thought policies that they put in place, how that will impact us, and look to us for guidance and suggestions on any changes that they would like to see made. We're going to continue to review ISBA's 2022 legislative priorities, which were just released last week at the ISBA Fall Conference. We're going to develop any updates to our 2022 legislative letter, continue to build our relationships, and since we have not been able to have our meeting, our typical meeting with all the Hamilton County legislators, we are looking to have an opportunity to have all the Hamilton County legislators meet with all of the Hamilton County school boards and members of the administration at some type of a forum. In the past, it's been a luncheon, and we are looking forward to seeing that move in a positive direction for this year as well. And thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, how may we do better with what we're doing? Yes, Katie.
Well, first of all, thank you. I know it takes a lot of work. Well, not only putting this together, but also all the things that you're doing and meeting with legislators. I just want to comment. I do like the idea of the letter. I think last year the year was a little bit different, so we just kind of went a little bit a different way with that. However, I did kind of like it instead of a list format of maybe our high-level balcony concerns and things that we kind of wanted to address. I thought it was a little bit more user-friendly, if that's that kind of comes across. So I did like that. So I am interested to kind of see what you present with us as far as that goes. It doesn't mean that we couldn't have bullet points, etc., but I did kind of like that letter format.
Okay, thank you. And yes, Mike?
I'd like to say thank you again, and I appreciate being able to see, I've looked before, but the succinctness that you did in terms of how these new representatives have constituents that are in Carmel Clay School District, so that we could, know who represents the same people that we represent. So thank you for putting that together.
If there are questions or concerns or comments or things that you hear, I guess, out on the street, and you have ideas for Dr. Beresford and myself, or ideas of ways that you want to engage our legislators, please, by all means, reach out, let me know, and we can team up and tackle any challenges. So thank you. Next on the agenda, Dr. Beresford, did you have anything you wanted to add about legislative updates?
No, you did a great job explaining some of the changes. And as always, we have common interests with a lot of things that the state legislators want to do, and it's an honor and a privilege to work with them, and also, be that resource, boots on the ground of what legislation what impact it may have in our school districts. And of course, we all want to avoid unintended consequences, that negative outcomes that we didn't want to have, and legislators don't want those either. And so sometimes we can work together and do better. So we really appreciate that. And I want to encourage us also just to continue our push to make Indiana an education state. We need young people to want to be teachers and to change the world and the lives of students. And we had a big step forward with the state funding for teachers to get us competitive with states that are around us. But now we've got more work to do because we need to get that teacher pipeline filled back up. So, and I know that that's an interest in the state as well, so we want to fuel that fire. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Carmel Parks Department. Mrs. Jackson.
I really didn't have much of an update other than we are continuing to do our development plan for Bear Creek. That's that new park off Shelbourne, I believe closer to 146th Street. So, be on the lookout for that. And last we talked, there were some mowed paths. So if you wanted to go in and kind of walk around, you have the ability to do that. But we're making progress there.
Thank you. Then Dr. Beresford, it's back to you.
Well, I thank you for a great meeting. I tell you, it warms my heart to hear about those new courses and all the wide variety of coursework for every kid, whether you're one of the National Merit Scholars semifinalists, or whether your interest lies in construction or automotive, or to be an EMT or a nurse assistant. I mean, there's just so many things out there, and there's something for everybody there. And the participation of our kids is just amazing. And also, when you're talking about AP capstone projects, if you ever get a chance to observe their presentations at the end of their projects, they're amazing. Their research projects are just incredible. So, just a very special night to highlight a lot of good things happening. 56 National Merit semifinalists is more semifinalists than a lot of states have. So we're very fortunate to have a lot of talented kids, parents who support their kids and value education, and also very talented staff to work with those students. So really good. But I'll jump off and start talking about this week is Bus Driver Appreciation Week. So throw some love to your bus drivers. And it's also National Safe Schools Week. So students have participated in safety drills in school and also on the bus. They're great tips and reminders for our families that were sent out over social media and school newsletters. There's some really cute videos students made in several different schools to communicate safety. It was really great timing that Carmel was named the safest mid-sized city last week in the country. And we want to remind all families that Carmel Clay schools are safe because of our wonderful community. Please keep communicating with your kids and remind them those key phrases: if you see something, say something, and then we will do something. As always, we want to thank Carmel Police Department and our school resource officers for everything they do. Their one single-minded focus is to keep our kids and community safe, and we appreciate that. I wasn't able to attend because I was a little bit under the weather, but we did hold ribbon-cutting ceremonies for our two newest elementary school buildings. I want to thank everyone who came out to the opening of Clay Center Elementary and our new Carmel Elementary. I want to thank Mayor Brainerd and members of the City Council, and we just had a whole lot of people that showed up to take the tour and to see the building, and so that was pretty special. We also want to thank the City of Carmel for their $10,000 donation. We mentioned that in the donations, but $10,000, and they've been doing that for several years since I got here, and that was Project Lead the way. We were able to buy about, $10,000 worth of STEM kits that went out when we added those new STEM teachers to our elementary schools and our programming there. So really, really appreciate that partnership with the city. They did a wonderful job with that. Saturday is one of the best days of the year, as the Carmel Education Foundation hosted the annual Ghosts and Goblins Run and Walk. Tremendous record-setting event, and the weather cooperated in a big way, and had an amazing turnout. So what a great way for our families and students and staff to come out and have some fun and get exercise. So very, very good. Carmel bands, watch out. Championship at the Indianapolis Super Regional at this regional competition, they were the champions. So very close with a .2 win over arch nemesis Avon, a very good band too. But they pulled off the overall win, along with the outstanding music performance and outstanding visual performance. So that show is really something, and they add to it every time they perform. So I can hardly wait to see what the big aha moment will be at the end there. They really put together a great show. Then we'll kind of go into the world of sports. The Carmel's doubles teams of Malpetty and Gents are now the individual doubles champion from the state of Indiana, and they really tore through the competition and won in a big way. So those guys are just incredible. They finished the season 31-0, and I don't think they lost many games along the way. It was a championship weekend, especially Saturday, where the girls cross country team won the semi-state, and the boys cross country team advanced to state finals with a 1-2 finish. Cole Matheson, who is incredible national level, and then his buddy Charlie Schumann went 1-2 at the semi-state, and I was there, and it wasn't like close. They were way out and in front of everybody else, and so that was pretty impressive. And then we had that evening in Seymour, Indiana, the two semi-state soccer championships. First one was the boys, who won in the last minute of the second overtime over Castle. And it was a nail biter. There were so many shots on goal, and nothing was going in. And then right with about a minute and 6 seconds to go, they hit one, and that was the game. And then we moved into the girls' semi-state, and it was a nail biter as well. It started raining in the second half, sometimes really hard, and again they won towards the end of the second overtime to take the semi-state title, and both are advancing to the state finals, I believe, this Saturday. So great day for the Greyhounds, and just proud of all of our kids and all the work that's going on to make the fall something special. So, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beresford. Well, we have a couple upcoming meetings. We've got November 8th, our workshop, November 22nd, our regular board meeting, to be followed by November 24th through 26th, Thanksgiving break with our families. May I get a motion on the table to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Louise. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.